Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Petty Officer Joshua O'Hanlon. We warmly welcome the family of Private Percy Hadley, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family, visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of the following New South Wales schools: Glenorrey Public School and Narromine Christian School. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Please be seated if you can do so. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the hearts of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Percy Hadley. Percy Hadley was born in 1895 in Narracan, Victoria. He was the eldest son of 4 children born to sawmill operator William Hadley and his wife Lucy. Percy received his education at the local state school, where he was a keen member of the senior cadets. He later volunteered in the local militia and was working as a grocer's assistant at the outbreak of the First World War. Percy Hadley enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 20th of July 1915. He was assigned to the 4th Battalion and commenced a short period of training in Australia. He was promoted to Lance Corporal but fell ill shortly before embarkation. Suffering from appendicitis, Hadley underwent an operation which left him significantly weakened. He spent several months convalescing at Gippsland Hospital before eventually being discharged as unfit for service. Unwilling to give up his desire to serve his country, Hadley repeatedly attempted to enlist over the months which followed. In August 1916, following heavy losses on the Western Front, he was again accepted and was allocated to the 21st Reinforcements of the 5th Battalion. After further training, he embarked for service on the 2nd of October 1916, sailing from Melbourne on troop ship Nectar. Private Hadley arrived in Plymouth, England in early November. There he continued training alongside other new recruits before spending Christmas of 1916 in the English camp. In January 1917, he travelled across the Channel to France, where he joined his unit in the midst of a bitterly cold winter. The first few weeks of his service were spent undertaking training, participating in working parties and on duty in the trenches. On the 10th of February of 1917, Hadley's unit was serving in the front lines near Albert when he was ordered to undertake a raid on the nearby Bayonet Trench. Covered in white cloaks to disguise them from the snow, Hadley and his comrades advanced on enemy lines, tasked with attacking the enemy, rescuing prisoners and obtaining intelligence. As they approached, they were held up by lengths of barbed wire, leaving them open to a hailstorm of artillery and enemy machine gun fire. Private Hadley was hit by shrapnel and sustained serious wounds to his right thigh. He was taken to a nearby casualty clearing station for treatment and soon after was placed on a hospital train bound for England. He arrived in the city of Reading several days later and received ongoing treatment for his wounds. He spent more than 6 months in hospital and was transferred to a convalescent camp ahead of his return to the front. Hadley was returned to his camp hut on the 13th of September 1917 when he fell and died before medical help could arrive. Private Hadley was buried with full military honours shortly after his death. Today he lies at Malcolm Regis Cemetery in Weymouth, Dorset, beneath the inscription chosen by his family. In honour bound to fight, he suffered and died for the right. Percy Hadley was 22 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is one but many stories of servicemen, service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Percy Hadley, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in hope of a better world.
Please stand for the ode and the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many man lying out there at Pozieres or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director and staff, we thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.